Thanks for tuning in to Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting in Seoul. Typhoon Chaba, the strongest storm Korea has seen in more than a decade, has caused some major damage along the country's southern coast. We have our Kim Ji-yeon on the line with more. Ji-yeon, so this typhoon has indeed proved deadly. I understand it's also caused quite a bit of property damage. What do we know at this point?
Well, Devin, what we know so far is that the typhoon has claimed 4 lives, including an elderly woman who fell from the roof of her house and a firefighter who was on duty. And it's caused a number of accidents, including a crane at a construction site in Busan that collapsed in the wind. Not far away in the city of Ulsan, flooding halted production at the Hyundai Motor factory, and a flash flood advisory has been issued. Residents downstream from a dam on the Taewagang River were forced to evacuate so the dam could release water to prevent further flooding. The General Insurance Association of Korea says damages incurred from Typhoon Chaba are estimated at nearly $9.3 million so far, as some 980 automobiles were reported to have been submerged, and some 210,000 households have experienced power cuts. President Park Geun-hye urged swift restoration efforts and response measures to minimize damages in the affected areas, while the Ministry of Public Safety and Security says it plans to come up with detailed plans for aid by the end of the month. Fortunately, the typhoon is weakening and transportation is up and running again in some areas, including the KTX express trains on the Gyeongbu line. Flights into and out of Busan, Gimhae, and Jeju are now back on schedule as well. However, sea routes for passenger ships and fishing boats are still under restrictions in these areas due to safety reasons. The typhoon is now over the East Sea and is expected to arrive in Japan by Thursday morning. Back to you.
Okay, thanks for that, Ji-yeon. In other news, Korea's parliament was back to work Wednesday for a second day, following a week-long boycott by the ruling party. Lawmakers continued with their regular audit of the government, looking closely at alleged corruption at 2 civic organizations and a case of alleged excessive force used by the police. Park Ji-won has this story.
Wednesday's parliamentary audit session was given over to a series of corruption allegations surrounding the Mir and K Sports foundations and the government's role in approving their establishment. Opposition lawmakers grilled officials from the related government agencies to get to the bottom of how the 2 relatively new foundations could have raised about $65 million in donations in just about a month or 2 after their launch. The contributions were known to have come from several of the country's major conglomerates, but it's not known if there were any favors exchanged in the course of the foundation's establishment. The main opposition Minju Party vowed to dig deeper into the allegations, pledging to keep investigating even after the audit wraps up on the 19th. The opposition parties also submitted a motion to the Parliament Secretariat Wednesday afternoon requesting an investigation by a special prosecutor into the case of an activist who died recently. The man had been in a coma for several months after having been knocked down by a police water cannon during an anti-government protest last November. The opposition parties are hoping to discover whether the police use of the water cannon was excessive or illegal and lay to rest any remaining controversies over the case. The proposal needs to win a parliamentary majority to succeed. If approved, the investigation could start sometime after the audit is finished. Meanwhile, ruling Saenuri Party leader Lee Jung-hyun, who's in the hospital after a week-long hunger strike sparked by a feud over the assembly speaker, is reportedly recovering quickly and could return to work as soon as next week. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
A new report from a Seoul-based NGO has highlighted North Korea's abuse of its workers. The report by Open Radio for North Korea claims the regime has forced around 400,000 people into labor for almost no pay. Lee Ji-won has more.
A new report claims North Korea's state-run labor organization is subjecting workers to slave labor, and that its victims number around 400,000 people. Open Radio for North Korea, a non-governmental organization that promotes North Korean human rights, held a press conference in Seoul Wednesday about the regime's use of forced labor. Based on in-depth interviews with 4 laborers and 18 defectors, its report says the labor organization, called Troopers or 돌격대 in Korean, supplies labor for the regime's construction businesses, but its members are paid almost nothing for their work. Mostly made up of people with a middle school education and a weak physical condition, the organization forces its members to work 4 hours in the morning, 5 hours in the afternoon, and labor at night too. According to a worker who defected, at times when the regime wants to ramp up production, they have to work from 5 in the morning until midnight for pay enough to buy just a few bowls of noodles. Such mistreatment of workers is often cited as a reason for North Koreans' growing discontent with the regime. The Washington-based Center for Strategic and International Studies says a clear sense of that is given by its beyond parallel opinion poll of 36 North Koreans now living in the North. Forced labor mobilization was a major reason cited by the respondents for their animosity towards the regime, in addition to insufficient wages and imprisonment for selling things on the black market. The survey was conducted across 10 cities and provinces and included men and women aged 28 to 80 from all walks of life. And it's a clear sign that North Korea's system isn't working for ordinary people. 이지원, Arirang News.
Now, this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry has been awarded to 3 chemists who've been developing what are called the world's smallest machines. Jean-Pierre Sauvage, Sir J. Fraser Stoddard, and Bernard L. Faringa will share the prize money of almost $920,000 US. In their work dating back to the early 1980s, the chemists have succeeded in linking molecules together to form mechanical parts just a few nanometers across. Sauvage linked 2 tiny rings to create a molecular chain. Stoddard designed a ring on an axle, and Faringa designed the first molecular motor. The Nobel Committee said their discoveries could be used to develop new materials, sensors, and energy storage systems. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. More to come on News Center in 2 hours' time. Bye for now.